Brutus Monroe channel. My name is Anna Collins and I'm honored and excited to be part of the Brutus Monroe design team. Today we're going to create this love card. Let's go to the products I use. From Brutus Monroe, the Heart Petals die set. This is an 8-piece set. It contains 2 large hearts and 2 words. Each die has its own shadow die to go with it. So that's the shadow die, and there's our heart, and this is like a floral looking heart. You have the word XO and love, or hugs and kisses and love. Again, each of these has its own shadow. You can use the shadow die with on your card, or you can use it without. And this heart here, which is like a blooming heart or a ray heart, I don't know what to call it, has a pretty little centered heart with lots of shooting out hearts. Today we're going to use that one and the love word. To save us a little time, I went ahead and die cut our word and its shadow and 3 of the hearts. Here's the shadow. I cut out a gray cardstock, and the word love out of pink cardstock, and that's medium weight, like a 65-pound. Here it is again in this pink, and I used the same color pink for our word and for this heart here. I'm showing you the design a little better here. So you can see it has a center heart with radiating little hearts shooting out of it. Again, I cut this 3 times. I cut it once out of this medium pink and twice out of white heavyweight cardstock. One I'm going to leave it white, and the other one is what we're going to use today to do some embossing on. So I'm going to set one aside, and I'm going to put the rest in my tray here to set it aside for us to work on. I also have a 110-pound card base, and I'm going to use basically this straight up onto our card base. We're doing sort of a clean and simple card. So here's our love word, and there's the heart we'll be using. To emboss on this, we're going to be using our embossing ink and some Brutus Monroe embossing powder, and this is in sterling. It's a beautiful gray silver color. It looks grayish here, but once you heat it up, it'll melt into this beautiful shiny silver. From my stash, I'm bringing in some pink and gray sequins and a little pearl heart in pink. So let's get started on our project. I'm bringing in a piece of copy paper, regular copy paper, and I'm going to use this for inking and putting a embossing powder. So if you've never used embossing ink, it's a clear sticky ink. As you can see, it's clear here. And what it does, it just allows the embossing powder to adhere to your project. So for our word here, I'm only going to put it on the bottom portion of our word love. So on the bottom portion of our letters. I'm just going to press it onto the word, or the die cut word. Then I'm going to pour some of the embossing powder onto that. Get a nice coverage there, and I'll cover the whole thing, but the embossing powder will only stick to where the ink was applied. Trying to get some more on here. It's just easier to pour some extra on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Shake off the excess. And then I'm going to bring in my heat tool. I like to heat from the bottom and then on top. So I start off heating from the bottom and then on top. This kind of minimizes the warping a bit. As you can see, it looks dull, but as you heat it up, it goes into this beautiful shiny silver, which is so lovely. So now we have a 2-tone design here on our word. So let me put the extra embossing powder in my jar before I spill it everywhere. I was being brave. I left the lid off. Okay, so there you can see, well, if I can hold it, there you can see the word has now a 2-tone. It has the pink and now the shiny silver on the bottom. And I did spill some, so I'm going to go ahead and clear that off. And now I'm going to bring in the same copy paper again and our white heart. I'm going to do the same process. I'm just going to go ahead and put plenty of ink on our heart and just pressing my ink pad onto this die cut. Once I have it fully covered with the embossing ink, I will then put some embossing powder on top and once again heat it up. Again, starting from behind and then on top until it's completely melted. So I'm just going to generously pour this on, shake off the excess, and then start heating it up. And I drop it a few times. Sometimes it's not so easy to hold on to these small thin die cuts. Alright, so I'm going to pour the excess into my jar, and I'm going to start heating up my die cut right here. And as you can see, it went from dull to shiny, and once you have it nice and shiny, you know that it's all set. You want it to be shiny and smooth. So I'm just working out the last little bits that are in there. And here it is. I'm going to see if I can get you a little bit of a close-up. My camera would focus. I think the shiny is kind of messing with the camera. Okay, so now I'm going to set aside the ink and the embossing powder before I spill everything, and we can start building our card. I'm going to bring in some Barely Arts glue, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of it on the back of the pink die cut here of the word love. And it's nice and thin, so if you want to use it without the shadow, it's beautiful, this nice thin die cut. And then I'm going to place it onto the shadow with the gray. And basically I'm going for a gray, white, and pink card, but the touches of silver, which is also in the gray family. So here we have our sentiment all set up. And for our heart here, I'm going to just layer these. I'm starting with the pink, I'm going to sandwich the white in the middle, and then the silver on top. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive here only on the center heart. And I'm just going to adhere just askew because I want the little bursts of hearts to go in between each other. So they're not stacked on top of one another, just bursting out, almost like a flower creating those petals. Trying to get that to burst out. And then I'm going to go ahead, put a little bit of liquid glue here, even though I'm going to add some foam adhesive, I'll pop that to the back of the silver heart. But this gives me a little time to wiggle, because if I go straight with the foam dot, it'll just stick to wherever, and if I don't get it how I want it, it's gonna be hard to take apart. So putting a little liquid adhesive allows me a little wiggle room to get it just how I want it. Again, I'm putting another foam adhesive dot on the back of my heart here, and I'm going to place this towards the top of our card. Once I have it there, I press firmly in place. Now I'm going to adhere our sentiment towards the bottom here. Getting a little bit of Barely Art glue, just doing a little bit on here, and I'm going to place this towards the bottom. I love that the sentiment fills the card entirely on here. And this is, by the way, I didn't mention, but this is an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5. Alright, so now I'm bringing in some, like I said, a pink pearl heart placed on top of our heart burst here. Oop, I need a little bit more adhesive there on my L. And I'm going to put little dots of adhesive so I can adhere a cluster of 3 sequins over here on the bottom, a pale pink, a medium pink, and then a gray sequin, if I can get it to stay, not stick to my finger, but stick to the card. And I'm trying to keep those grays in the same, shades of, or multiple shades of gray, multiple shades of pink. So we have a pale pink in the sequins, a medium pink in the sentiment and the heart burst, and then a deeper pink in that sequin. So here is our finished card. Told you, quick and easy, just some die cutting and a little embossing, and you're set. Here's a close-up of that. Look at all the fun layers that this creates, just stacking them like this. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, I'm going to go over what we use. We use the following products from Brutus Monroe. We use the Heart Petals die set, and we use the embossing ink and embossing powder in sterling. Like always, I'll have everything linked in the description box below. I hope you found some inspiration. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more inspiration from the design team.